He is wounded. His father got killed. His sister got killed.
Yeah, by the way, saying destruction in their DNA is so funny because you're also Iranian. Like, you're literally Iranian. Like, no one, like, I don't know why people in the diaspora unironically lean into tropes that undermine their own position in the Western world as well. This is, I've seen it. Anyway.
Masi, how are the people that you're in touch with in Iran, how are they holding up after a week and a half of near constant bombardment by the Americans and Israelis?
It's not easy. It's not easy, Jake, especially when they put the entire nation in absolutely digital blackout. Can you believe that? In this moment that are falling, my people need to have internet, to have, a regime that at least warn them, shelter, nothing. So that's another war crime committed by...
Wait, it's the IRGC's fault that your allies are Iranians? That is crazy. Wow. Jake, it is not Israel that is at fault, Jake. Not America. It is still very much the fault of Ayatollah Khamenei, Jake. The Israelis are good.
The Islamic Republic. The situation is beyond sad, but at the same time, I have to say that people are actually telling me that they had enough and they want the U.S. government to hear their message that do not leave them with a wounded regime. They are sad because it's a war. War is always ugly. It's not clean.
By the way, this reminds me of when Ethan Klein said Hamas is bad because they wouldn't build bomb shelters. Israel isn't at fault for blowing up Palestinian civilians. Hamas, that would have blown up just the same.
And people were not the one that asked for this war. This war being imposed by the Islamic Republic to Iranian people because the U.S. gave them many chances, negotiating with them, stop your nuclear activities, a lot of different opportunities for them. They didn't accept that because it's in their DNA, chaos, mayhem, war. So that's why the people in Iran are worried, but at the same time, they're asking the world to help them to get rid of this regime, not replacing Ali Khamenei with another Khamenei. Well, that is not going to guarantee global security.
Well, yeah, I wanted to ask you about that since we last spoke. Iran's Assembly of Experts, that's an 88-member body of senior clerics, they appointed or anointed Mojtaba Khamenei to replace his father as supreme leader. Now, Mojtaba has not appeared in public.
Exactly.
A source tells CNN he suffered a broken foot, bruises, and cuts from the initial attacks. What do ordinary Iranians think of their new supreme leader?
To be honest, nothing. Mojtaba is one of the most invisible figure, and I have to say that the most famous slogan in my country is Mojtaba, Bemiri rahbari ro nabini. It means that Mojtaba, you better die before seeing a position as a supreme leader. Yes, he is one of the secretive.
I think the most famous slogan in the country has been, and certainly in this last campaign, Marg bar America, Marg bar Israel, which is not that. That's what I keep hearing, at least.
Figure in Ali Khamenei's house. And so far, it has been 2 days.
Yeah, Margarita Bar, America, brother. They love margaritas out there.
They announced him as supreme leader. No pictures of him, no videos of him, no statement. All we know about him is a cardboard cutout. That's it. Nothing, no statement from him. And this is kind of like, he is even scared of showing up or he's dead. This is what the people in Iran says. He is hardliner than his father. He is wounded. His father got killed. His sister got killed.
Yeah, by the way, saying destruction in their DNA is so funny because you're also Iranian. Like, you're literally Iranian. Like, no one, like, I don't know why people in the diaspora unironically lean into tropes that undermine their own position in the Western world as well. This is, I've seen it. I've seen it for so many years with like all of these former Muslim Islamophobes that told white supremacists everything that they want to hear. You know, listen, as a former Muslim, you know, I escaped the cult of Islam, the Ayaan Hirsi Alis and all these other people that literally kept leaning into these Islamophobic tropes, not recognizing that tokens inevitably get spent.
His mother got killed and he's bloodthirsty right now. So believe me, he will be the one actually targeting the United States of America with full war, because he's now the bloodthirsty in Iran, being supported by the Revolutionary Guards, by Ghalibaf, by Fadai, Taib, the head of the Revolutionary Guards. These are the hardliners of my country, and they are the ones supporting Mojtaba Khamenei. And believe me, if he is gonna be like the leader, if nobody think about removing him, trust me, he will come back, rebuild the Revolutionary Guards to take revenge of its own people, people in the region, and the United States of America.
Masi, we're running out of time, but I do want to ask you, obviously, the Iranian regime is cruel, and the people of Iran deserve a government that better reflects human rights, democracy, and the rest. I wonder how concerned you are about the point at which this war will actually start alienating the Iranian people from the United States and its allies. And I ask because it appears as though the United States was responsible for that missile attack, that accident, apparently, in which all these grade school girls were killed and teachers, other innocent people. Israel hit that fuel depot on Saturday, I believe. Obviously, that caused a lot of air quality issues for the people of Tehran. At what point do you worry about this intervention, this war, alienating the Iranian people from the United States and others?
I have my family there. I have my beloved mother, my brother, my father, all my beloved friends there, living there. I don't have anyone here. So, of course, my heart is aching for my family.
Well, not hard enough, clearly, because, you know, you're leaning into the side of America can do no wrong. I want Kubi Day. HasanAbi, why is this girl on TV? Is one of the major dissidents that CNN and CBS has decided will be doing the propaganda as we continue our destruction campaign on Iran. Sorry. That's the she's been chosen as like the Iranian Persian who will say, President Trump, you are doing the best.
Ones are falling. And that's why I keep asking the United States of America, the Israeli government, that the people of Iran are your allies. And that's why I strongly believe that the strike should be precise and calculated, only targeting the Revolutionary Guard.
Iranian Ahmed Fuad al-Khatib.
The political leaders.
She's a famous journalist with a long history of anti-regime coverage. Every Iranian knows her. Yes, from what I understand, she used to be like a very well-respected feminist reporter in Iran. And in the last couple of years, she seemingly has gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I've only known of her existence since this last, I think I've seen her before, but never really paid close attention to it. But she's been making the rounds. She's been making the rounds in this last campaign, justifying it endlessly, celebrating, dancing, going everywhere.
Trump has dragged us into a war the American people do not want. He has put American troops in harm's way. I unequivocally oppose.
Yeah, Iran is our number one enemy. Kamala Harris said that.
This war of choice.
But I have to say, I am tired of seeing some politicians here in America, especially Democrats, making this about their own politics, scoring political points.
Wait, I hate this argument. Like, what do you mean? Why are you on American TV? Why are you begging for American tax dollars to kill your relatives? I don't care. It is now my problem, okay? It's my problem now. It's my money, okay? What do you mean? And you know it too. That's why you're begging. What is this argument? Like, oh, this is about the liberty for the Iranians. No, it's not. No, it's not. Do it on your own then, lady.
Points like Kamala Harris. Suddenly, she kept quiet about the... Suddenly, she found a voice condemning the targeted military strike against the killers. So when ordinary people get, you don't have any problem? Who are you?
Donald Trump has dragged.
Oh, we've also given her money too. We've given her money so that she can, what do you call it? This graph shows trends over time transactions of this recipient. U.S. Agency for Global Media. Wait, what? No, we haven't given her $800,000, right? Oh my God. No. What am I looking at here? That's just total obligations for the agency, right? Like that's not, what is this government, man?
Basiji militia and those who ordered against people. And my heart is broken when I see that civilians paying huge price. But when I talk to my people inside Iran, maybe nobody believed that. But I ask you to talk to every single mother whose children got killed. You know what they say to me? They say that if the regime kill us, they force us to pay money to get the dead body back from the regime. But if we get killed by the bomb, then at least nobody asked us for money. Nobody put us...
Oh, God, this is just not even good propaganda. I'm sorry. Jesus Christ, is so annoying. Yay. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Yeah, Rokan has been in the trenches defending your boy. AIPAC came after me. So did Joe Walsh. That was really funny. They're all very frustrated. Anyway, where was I? Oh, latest from President Trump. When oil prices go up, we make a lot of money. Another perfect vulgar imperialism moment from Donald Trump. Because he's right. The United States is the largest oil producer in the world by far. So when oil prices go up, we make a lot of money. When he says we, though, he's talking about the oil giants. He's talking about the corporations. He's right. The American people are not. Okay? So that's true. He's just saying the quiet part out loud once again. Loud once again. The American people, of course. He means his next post will say, rebuilding all the military bases will be great for the economy. Please take a typing class. Okay, calm down. Donald Trump is saying the quiet part out loud once again. When he says we, he doesn't mean the American people, of course. He means his friends who own the oil and gas giants. We're a midnight away from full brandization. I think we might be there, dude. Oh, this was also... what do you call it? Ali Larjani posting like King Von. Trump has said we can take apart Iran's electric capacity within 1 hour, but we have not done it. Well, if they do that, the whole region will go dark in less than half an hour, and darkness provides ample opportunity to hunt down U.S. servicemen running for safety. Oh, police steady watching me. Total outside spending in Illinois 9 approaching $9 million as of Wednesday night, with new spending from Elect Chicago Women and Chicago Progressive Partnership Dark Money Super PACs. Here's an updated look at where the spending is. $5 million supporting Fine, couldn't even get to third position. $1.4 million opposing BIS. $1.8 million opposing Abu Ghazaleh. And $1.1 million supporting BIS. There is no outside money, outside spending on Kat Abu Ghazaleh. Another poll came out. Abdul with the highest favorable number in a poll commissioned by an AIPAC aligned group. Buckle up. We're in it to win it. What is this? Candidate favorability. Mallory McMorrow at 50%. Haley Stevens at name ID at 63%. Syed at 62%. That's not good. If his name ID is at 62% and he's still trailing at 23%, that's not a good thing. That means Mallory McMorrow has a higher ceiling. But I don't know how reliable this poll is.
Washington, D.C., here in Doha, Amman, Jordan, Beirut, and in Tehran. But first, though, we have some breaking news to bring you out of Iraq. The French military says 6 of its soldiers have been wounded in a drone attack. That attack happened in the northern region of Erbil. The French troops were taking part in counterterrorism training. And in a separate development, U.S. Central Command says one of its refueling aircrafts has gone down in western Iraq. For more on this, let's go to Asad Beg, who is live for us in Erbil in northern Iraq. Asad, what can you tell us about the French soldiers?
Yes, some very fast-moving events now. So what I can tell you is we understand that there were 2 drones targeting this base in a place called Mahmoura, which is about 60 kilometers southwest of where I am now here in Erbil, in the Kurdish region of northern Iraq. Now, that joint Peshmerga French base, we understand 6 French soldiers have been injured, and we understand that they've been taken to medical facilities nearby. Now, we also understand that it is some factions, Iraqi factions aligned to Iran, that may have launched those drones at that base. Now, this is important because it's the first time we're hearing that foreign soldiers have been injured here in North Iraq, in the Kurdish region. Now, you also mentioned the US Central Command saying that it's aware of a loss of its US KC-135 refueling aircraft. Now, US Central Command says they're launching an operation, rescue efforts are ongoing. Importantly, what US Central Command says that the two aircraft were involved, but it's not as a result of enemy or friendly fire. However, there is a faction, an armed faction within Iraq who claim that the US aircraft was struck by a 359 type missile launched by this Iraqi faction. Now, none of this can be confirmed or verified at this point in time, but this is just to give you an idea of some of the fast-moving events taking place here. For days we've been saying things have been escalating here in the Kurdish region of Iraq. But to add to that, some of the factions have also issued warnings. Now, they've asked what they call the Kurdish brothers to stay away from a particular hotel here in Erbil, the regional capital of the Kurdish part of northern Iraq. Now, they say that they've warned people to stay away from the Deadman Hotel on 60th Meter Street, they say, and they've told people to evacuate from there. And they've even named or pointed out vehicles that have arrived there. So what's happening is these factions now seem to be widening the scope of their targets. In another statement, they say,
it's not just the planes that are getting smoked. As Matthew Petty also points out, the administration is yet to address publicly that we are currently fighting pro-Iran militias all over Iraq again. There are Iraqi Shias that are pro-Iran that are quite literally smoking American bases right now, cooking them up. And not only that, but they cannot even withdraw their troops. From what I understand, the American military is currently incapable of withdrawing their troops from Iraq right now because the air bases are not covered. They're worried that if they tried to withdraw their troops from Iraq, they would have their planes blown out of the sky as this Strato tanker just got hit.
Because of the arrival of a French aircraft carrier in the US Central Command's area and operations and its involvement in operations, they are now announcing, this faction of this Islamic resistance umbrella group, which has many factions within it, they're announcing that they will be targeting French interests in the region. So again, it's widening the scope, no longer US bases and assets and Iranian Kurdish opposition groups based here. Now they also say they're going to be targeting French interests.
Right, and Asad Beg, we will check back in with you as we get more information about those incidents we were talking about at the beginning. We appreciate your reporting from Erbil.
It's day 13 of the Iran war. Mines, missiles and boats have been the key players in this phase of the conflict.
Okay, let's oh wow, this one is tasty. Could America actually lose the Iran war? Explain. I'll get back to that, but before I do, I want to talk about the two different shootings that took place. Apparently there was one there was an incident that took place in a synagogue in Michigan. But then there was also a shooting that took place, right? With some ROTC officers. And this is on US soil. Sorry. Does anyone have a link for that? Yeah. The man who rammed his explosive-laden truck into a Michigan synagogue today was named Ayman Ghazaleh. According to a source familiar with the situation, Ghazaleh posted photos overnight of his family members, including young children who were killed in a recent Israeli attack on the town of Mashgara, Lebanon. This is a developing story. That's not the actual story, though. That's just the update from Ryan. Yeah. What is this? False flag summer. We've had hot girl summer, white boy summer, performative male summer. What's the next summer going to be? Yeah, probably. I saw the news story about like weapons or drones being stolen from a fucking military facility the day after LA Times or whatever wrote that report, or CBS wrote that report about there possibly being a drone attack in Los Angeles by Iran. Great stuff. Yeah, U.S. Army was forced to admit that the supposed drone thieves at Fort Campbell had authorized access to military installation and the building. Inside job. Ain't no fucking way, dude. Where will those drones show up? Come on. Feds, let's not do this. Let's not kill random innocent civilians in an effort to whip up support for an unjustifiable and very unpopular war. Please just save everybody the fucking time and save people the dignity, save people's lives. Just fucking be like, oh, we found them. Please. Come on, between you and I, feds. Okay, to all the federal law enforcement, to all the members of federal law enforcement that are watching right now, this is not for anybody else. This is just for you. Okay, between you and I, everyone else is tuning out right now. Listen, we all know what you are trying to do. Okay, we all know what you're trying to do here. The war with Iran is very unpopular. Everybody knows it's being done at the behest of Israel. Nobody fucking wants it. Just please don't kill a bunch of innocent civilians and do a false flag and be like, oh my God, I can't believe Iran used these American drones that were stolen from an American military installation suspiciously by people who had inside access to the American military base that these drones were stolen from. Like, let's not do this. Let's not do this at all. Okay? Because the reality is, not only is this heinous, but also, I beg of you, okay? Not only is this a heinous act, but it's not going to be successful because nobody fucking trusts mainstream news. Nobody, and I mean nobody, will believe it, okay? Everyone's going to say it's Israel. If anything, it's going to go against your interests. It's probably going to make the war less popular, okay? So please don't do this. Spare everybody the dignity. Spare the lives that you might take out. Everyone's going to say it's Israel. Candace Owens is going to come out and say this is Israel. And then no one is going to believe whatever fucking dumb fuck narrative you try to create. Like, oh, this drone was wearing a I am Allah's servant hoodie. They wrote on this drone, I hate ICE. And also, I hate Donald Trump. And also, I hate Israel. And I love the IRGC. It's not going to work, okay? You guys are already so fucking incompetent. Please just don't do that. Just come on. Just cut it out. Before you try some shit, just cut it out. Oh, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's just not going to work. I don't think anyone will trust the government and whatever the official narrative that you are trying to put together. Let's not do it. You got to call them Habibi. They will listen. I don't think they will. All right, let's get the Channel 4's assessment. Back to monitoring the situation.
Is America actually losing the war, or could it? How is Iran able?
What the fuck? Channel 4 has like a YouTuber now with maps. This is Channel 4 Johnny Harris. The number of Iranian missile launches has held steady after a week of unrelenting airstrikes, according to Israeli and Western estimates. Oh, what the fuck?
To do this? But President Trump says they've been bombed into submission.
We've knocked out their navy, their military in all forms. We've knocked out just about everything there is, including their leadership.
But the Iranians are still launching attacks, setting ships on fire, and drone bombing oil facilities.
You can be very damaged and have a bloody nose, but still be capable of being a big nuisance.
So, could Iran actually win this war? Could its cheap drones make it too expensive for America and Israel to fight? The US talks about what victory means, but what does defeat look like? Here's the breakdown with Tyler Anderson.
America is relentlessly bombarding Iran, hitting 5,500 Iranian targets since the war broke out.
They had thousands of missiles, 8,000 missiles. We got many of them before they got to launch. They have drones all over the place. We got many now. We're knocking out the drone plants, as you know. They started talking about mines, so We hit 28 mine ships as of this moment.
But Trump's intense military action comes at a cost. The Pentagon estimates that the first 6 days of the war have already cost the US $11.3 billion. Despite this massive outlay, Iran is still fighting back for a fraction of the cost. They're using drones in the air and the sea. They're cheap and easy to build, and they explode when they hit their targets. And while they can be taken out, they're 10 times more expensive to stop than they are to make. That gives Iran an advantage: time. The longer the war goes on, the more their opponents have to spend to keep themselves safe. At least 150 US troops have been wounded in the war so far, and Iran has successfully strangled the global oil supply by striking ships in the Strait of Hormuz, burning the fuel that the rest of the world needs.
Turkey update. Reports of air raid sirens followed by possible explosions at Incirlik Air Base located near Adana, Turkey. This is the American air base. But I only hear air raid sirens. I don't see explosions. Maybe they are trying to fucking...
They're now threatening to double
base.
the price of oil. So the US will have to decide how much money it's willing to lose to keep fighting this war.
Thanks, Tyler. One of the most surreal things about this war is...
How the fuck do you endure listening to this moron 9/7, 365? No wonder you can't wait for these dumbass cult loyals to get owned even slightly at HasanAbi. Who is the moron you're talking about that I endure listening to?
How it's been talked about. Take a look at this video that was posted by the official White House account.
Oh my god, this shit was so fucking stupid.
Here comes the heat from the USA! Boom! Pins down! What a strike! Who do you think you are?
That's the actual American government posting that. And right at the same time that they appear to be joking about how much they've destroyed. As we speak, though, Iran is blowing up ships and oil refineries across the region. So what's going on? Let's bring in someone who knows more about modern warfare than nearly anyone. Journalist Shashank Joshi, defense editor at The Economist magazine. The Trump administration is sort of saying that it's taken out all Iranian capacity to fire missiles and everything. Is that really true?
Well, I think you've got to consider three things. One is having the ability to make missiles. The other one is having the missiles themselves. And the third one is being able to fire them. And I think it's true that in these airstrikes by America in Israel over the past 2 weeks, they've done significant damage to all three of those things, to the capacity to make missiles, to the stockpiles, and to the ability to get those launchers out there in the open and to fire them before you're detected and bombed by an American or Israeli plane above you. They've lost probably the Iranians half their launchers, so a huge loss for the Iranians, significant numbers of missiles, probably in the thousands. However, it is still true, though, the Iranians are getting drones away, and we've seen that continuing to fire against the Gulf Arab states. I've seen videos of a drone hitting a building in Dubai in the last 24 hours. And it's also true that the Iranians are probably holding back some of their missiles, thinking we're not going to fire these now because we can't, but we'll keep them in reserve so that we can keep up this occasional firing for perhaps another couple of weeks if the war goes on. So it is basically not true that Iran's missile capacity has been destroyed. There is still some left.
If you just listen to Donald Trump, you would think that Iran had been totally pulverized. If you just watch the White House, these bombastic videos they put out, that's what you'd think. Is that the reality?
I think it is true that Iran has been pummeled really, really badly. They've obviously lost their supreme leader. They've lost their head of their defense ministry, their Revolutionary Guards, which is like their special elite military force. And they have seen massive bombing across missile sites, nuclear sites, against Revolutionary Guard bases, police bases, intelligence bases, and on. But fundamentally, the regime is still standing. It's still there. You still have a new supreme leader who's in place, the son of the last one. He's called Mojtaba Khamenei. You've got a Revolutionary Guard that's still in place. They are still capable, ultimately, of making life difficult for their neighbours. In particular, disrupting the flow of oil.
Even this is called no shot, half the launchers are gone. Yeah. This reminds me of like when the American government's assessments are like, oh, we've destroyed the Iranian We've destroyed the fucking Iranian naval fleet.
Out of the Persian Gulf, out of a choke point that they control called the Strait of Hormuz, in having that minimal capability to keep causing chaos, they can cause global economic turmoil despite all the damage that's been done to their military capabilities. And for now, that's enough to give them quite a bit of leverage.
So America has the firepower, but Iran can set fires still all across the region and really choke global trade.
That's right. I mean, you can be a very weak actor, you can be very damaged and have a bloody nose, but still be capable of being a big nuisance, an extreme nuisance to the world economy. And if you want another example of this, we could look back perhaps a year or two to the Houthis, who were a rebel group based in Yemen, supported by Iran, and they were really not a very advanced group. They were a rebel group. They controlled lots of Yemen. They were not very sophisticated, but they were able to fire missiles at shipping through the Red Sea that caused effectively a
First French casualty, Francis Macron, Chief Warrant Officer Arnaud Friand died for France during an attack in Erbil, in the Erbil region of Iraq. By the way, if you're wondering why the Islamophobia has been tuned up to 11 by our elected representatives, especially those on the right, and even, you know, liberal commentators attacking Zoran, attacking anyone who is, Muslim, and saying that they're ISIS and also a member of the IRGC, understand that that is because anytime Israel's approval ratings worsen in the United States of America, they will do this, okay? And it's not like this is just it. They have one fucking move. Every time people are like, bro, why the fuck are we at war with Iran for Israel? This is bullshit. Every single Zionist will in unison turn around and fucking talk about Islam. It's not just Randy Fine, by the way. I said you should fear carbs of Islam, you sweaty animal. I've studied Islamophobia for more than 15 years, and I've never seen it as explicit, unchecked, and out in the open as it is today on this platform. Disgusting stuff. Tuberville should be censured and run out of town. Yeah, Coach Tommy Tuberville, Senator Tuberville, the enemy is inside the gates. You got Randy Fine, that pig fucker, losing his mind. There's Andy Ogles. There's another one I just saw on my timeline earlier. Representative Mark Harris says Sharia law is not compatible with Western civilization. Jake Tapper's been going crazy as well. You will hear from those who absolutely fucking love Israel, okay? Every time you hear someone talk about how Islam is what the fuck is this? Yeah. Every time you hear from an elected representative of this like unlimited Islamophobia, just read that as I love Israel, am Israel high, and you're all little piggies that will go along with my immediate distraction. What is this?
Your colleague there had a statement earlier this week where he says Muslims don't belong in American society. Pluralism is a lie. You yourself have said if they force us to choose, the choice between dogs and Muslims is not a difficult one. Do you support what Congressman Ogles is saying there?
Well, I would probably have put the word many in front of that statement. I mean, I think as you see, I think Muslims who throw bombs at Americans, Muslims who shoot Americans.
Oh, if you just say many, then it's fine.
As we saw in Austin, Texas, Muslims who call for the death of Jews, I don't think they belong in America. But I don't believe in absolute statements. Not all Muslims are terrorists, although many are. And in the same way, we should not declare that all Muslims are terrorists. We should not also declare that all Muslims are peaceful, because they are not. So my comment that you referenced, I think you took it out of context. One of Mondani's advisors had said she wanted to ban dogs as pets in New York.
She was not. It's Nerween, and she's not fucking an advisor to Zohran Mamdani, and she was joking. You racist animal. You fucking Nazi. You Nazi pig.
Because Muslims think dogs are dirty and unholy. And so my comment was very simple. If Mondami and his Muslim advisors are going to say, we can't have dogs in order to live here, then I believe I choose my dog, they can leave. And I stand by that statement.
I certainly appreciate you clearing that.
Now, if I made the exact statement about Jewish people, it wouldn't be anti-Semitic, right? Of course it would be. What is this? Care to explain? I can't. Yeah, this is Scott Wiener's legislation signed by Gavin Newsom that criminalizes any criticism of the state of Israel or open support of Palestinians at all. The state is suing schools over pro-Palestinian student walkout, a Free Palestine poster, an anti-racist event, etc. Scott Wiener may be calling it a genocide now because he's running for Congress, and Gavin Newsom may be calling it an apartheid now because he's running for president, but they've both already done the damage they wanted. Just so you understand. Yeah, AB 715. I'm skeptical of any and all violent events, threats taking place right now in the U.S. We've had a sudden rise in high-profile Muslim-led violence since the war in Iran started. Really? That said, I cannot begin to fathom all the rage that envelops someone watching your government and a foreign government ally to exterminate your people, your family. What a tragedy this is all around. The majority continue to be platforms for Israel, whether holding IDF recruitment events or selling stolen Palestinian land or just pushing pro-genocide propaganda that dehumanizes Palestinians, Arabs, and Muslims. Dehumanization that leads to the killing of entire families and babies. So long as Jewish institutions in this country align themselves with the genocidal actions of a state that claims the primacy in Jewish identity, so long as these institutions uphold that primacy, there is nothing that will separate them from the actions of that state. The onus cannot be on the victims of that dehumanization and violence to do that. I mean, this is also true. Yes, this is what I've been urging over and over again. Like, it was ridiculous to demand Muslims disavow ISIS because Muslims were already disavowing ISIS. It was actually the media that was tying Muslims to ISIS, right? ISIS's primary targets were other Muslims, always. ISIS has always ended up fighting America and Israel's wars somehow. I don't know why, okay? Do with that information what you will. And in spite of all of the Muslims that were like, fuck ISIS, what the fuck are you talking about? We hate this shit. ISIS is killing our family members back home. The media was the one who was saying ISIS is tied to Islam. It's the truest version of Islam. All Muslims love ISIS. There is a difference here. I say this as someone who has experienced a lot of Islamophobia living in the United States of America. I warned about this at my Oxford speech. Okay? I warned about this in my Oxford speech as well. Jewish institutions in this country do not realize that most people look at Israel like they look at ISIS now. Okay? Majority of Americans do not have a favorable opinion of Israel. They don't, I mean, maybe they don't have as disfavorable an opinion of Israel as ISIS, but many of them are not fond of, weren't you white like 6 months ago? I'm still white, you fucking moron, you fucking baboon, you donkey-brained idiot. I'm still fucking white. Look at me. Do I not look white to you? Do I look like a non-white person? Have you ever encountered an Albanian in your life, for example? I am white. I say that I'm white. In the eyes of people who call me a fucking terrorist, Islamist fundamentalist, I'm not white. I'm a Muslim terrorist. Okay? I don't know why some of you fucking dickheads find this to be like this spectacular own. I am white. I say that I'm white, but a lot of other white supremacists seemingly don't consider me to be white. You probably might even be one of those people. Anyway, as I was saying, they say that you pick and choose when you want to be white and non-white. It's because they're fucking stupid. Video which appears to show an unknown ballistic missile in the sky over NATO's Incirlik base in Turkey, following reports of air raid sirens and explosions heard earlier in several towns surrounding Incirlik. In any case, that's an XQC-Sam argument. He's been calling you a chameleon because he's mentally stupid. No, it's because he heard that from his favorite pedophile. He just repeats and regurgitates whatever he hears from his favorite fucking CSAM procurer, CSAM enjoyer. That's what it is. Anyway. As I was saying, before I got rudely interrupted by a chatter that wanted to bust out the fucking calipers for some reason. The fuck was I talking about? Oh, for many Americans, Israel is no longer a favorable nation state. For many Americans, they don't like Israel. They don't like what Israel is doing. They don't like what Israel is doing as far as both to the Palestinians over there, which is something they can overlook because many Americans are, you know, somewhat selfish. But they certainly don't like what Israel is doing to them. They don't like that our tax dollars are going to Israel. Okay? And they certainly don't like that Israel and envoys of Israel are incredibly fucking arrogant and constantly demanding more tax dollars, more weapons, constantly bringing America into entanglements that many Americans don't want. And on top of that, demanding censorship in the United States of America. So for many Americans, people do not like Israel. They don't fuck with Israel. So all these Jewish institutions that are like, oh, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? You can't say Israel's an apartheid state. That's anti-Semitic. That doesn't read as a statement for the average American as one that like caused them to back away. It causes them to think, okay, I guess all Jews care about is fucking Israel. I guess all they have is dual loyalty. That's it. So yes, unlike Muslims consistently disavowing ISIS, which they fucking do, obviously, there is a necessity of Jewish institutions to be at the fucking forefront of this conversation, trying to shred its ties to the nation state of Israel. What will it fucking take? Hasan, I don't think most Americans are not invested in Israel. What do you mean by this? I don't know if that's fully true, Hasan. You are fucking delusional if you think that Americans have a favorable opinion of Israel. Democratic favorability is at 33%. Independents at 41%. Even fucking Republicans can only get those numbers up to 69%. And Republicans are fucking cattle. Even the cattle are at 69% favorability. The motherfucking American president came out and said, I'm waging this war for Israel. Then Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, came out right after that and said, we're doing this for Israel. Okay? And those numbers are still incredibly high for the metric ton of destabilization that Israel is committed to. There are still people going, it's past time to address the fact that a central driver of anti-Semitic hysteria and violence in our country are fringe tokenized Jews who spread Jewish fascism, Nazism narratives to support their ideological fetishes. Maybe they don't know, maybe they don't care. David Klein says, or maybe, just maybe, is that Israel, by its own admission, killed at least 70,000 people in Gaza, and some of us find that morally troubling. It's insane. It's actually the Jews that come out and say Israel has nothing to do with Judaism. Those are the Jews that are trying to combat anti-Semitism. It's ridiculous. But unfortunately, there are a lot of Jewish Zionists who will just be like, I'm Jewish, I'm a Zionist. Israel is the most consequential thing on the fucking planet. They just come out and do this shit. And of course, for a lot of people who don't have a favorable opinion of Israel, which again, remember, the plurality in this country no longer holds a favorable opinion of Israel, okay? For the plurality of people that are polled on this stuff, they look at that and go, what the fuck? What the fuck are you saying? Okay, I guess you do control the media. I guess you do control all these powerful institutions, and you do use these powerful institutions to do the bidding of Jews, which happens to be Israel. That's what you've taught me. That's the way they approach it. Israel can't win Americans over anymore, so its defenders have decided to disparage Muslims instead, and it seems to be working so far. I said this in October 27, 2025. There it is. It's completely ridiculous. Anyway, let's get back to this
blockage in the Red Sea, and despite weeks of bombing by the United States, they were still able to keep firing these missiles occasionally. I think the important thing to remember here is, if you're Iran, you don't need to destroy every ship coming through the Strait of Hormuz. You just need to destroy one to make it prohibitively risky for all the others to say, hang on a minute, I'm not going to go through that route. And so you can get a lot done with very, very minimal firepower. That's the lesson, I think.
So is it that Donald Trump didn't know that Iran could do this in the Strait of Hormuz, or that he did know and didn't think it would happen, or they didn't have a plan?
Well, we can never quite peer into the mind of the US president. He changes his mind a lot. He's very unpredictable. He says one thing at breakfast and another thing by lunchtime. So I can't say for sure, but my suspicion is he thought that he would be able to pummel Iran so badly that by this point, perhaps they would have done a deal. Perhaps they would have been paralyzed. I don't think he necessarily factored in that if Iran felt its back was to the wall, that they had no other choice, they were cornered, that they would take the rest of the region down with them. They would try to destroy oil refineries and production plants and export plants and gas facilities across the Persian Gulf. And I think that they had little left to lose. If you're going to be toppled anyway, why not try to do all you can to say, I will take you down with me? I think that's what we're seeing with Iran. And America, its inability at least to plan for that, for example, by not having enough mine-sweeping ships in the region ready to take off these mines that Iran has said it has laid. I think that does speak to some very, very poor military planning and very poor political preparation from the Trump administration. But of course, anyone who knows anything about the Trump administration knows that we don't normally associate the words careful planning and real thoughtfulness with these people.
America has got bogged down in wars before, hasn't it? Vietnam, Iraq. Just explain how there might be some parallels with those conflicts.
Well, America's fought, of course, many wars in its history, and in the last 40 years, it's had some associated with long, protracted military campaigns from which it has struggled to get decisive results and has had to stay there for years without achieving much. And of course, Vietnam, the US invasion of Vietnam in the 1960s is the paradigmatic case of that, eventually leaving and the North Vietnamese rebels, the Viet Cong, taking over the country in humiliating fashion for the United States as they were airlifting their people off the top of the embassy with helicopters. And then, of course, Iraq and Afghanistan, the invasion of Iraq in 2003 to topple Saddam Hussein, the invasion of Afghanistan 2 years before that to topple the Taliban, who were sheltering Al-Qaeda, a terrorist group that conducted the terrorist attacks of 9/11 against New York and Washington. And both of those were very successful military campaigns at the outset, toppling those groups. But America ended up then placing hundreds of thousands of forces on the ground to stabilize those countries. Eventually, of course, leaving Afghanistan again in humiliating fashion in 2021 when the Taliban took over Kabul again. Now, what the Trump administration says is this is not like Iraq or Vietnam because we are not going to be nation building. We're not trying to build these societies up into democracies. We're not trying to put boots on the ground to stabilize them and stay there for 10 years. This is a limited campaign. And I think that's true. It's not as sprawling and open-ended as Iraq or Vietnam, but it has some similarity in that it is a campaign that is perhaps going on for longer than the Trump administration would want and doesn't necessarily meet all its objectives in the sense of toppling the Iranian regime, completely eradicating its nuclear program. That what we're learning is military power does not solve all your political problems.
Is the other parallel this idea of asymmetrical warfare, in that, you might have all the technology and all the firepower, but we can fight back in ways you didn't expect?
Right. I think missiles have been a big part of this, which are missiles that Iran is firing, wouldn't have been as accurate and as...
I switched over to another streamer to see what they were talking about, and they're playing a clip of you. You're everywhere. Yes, I have a lot of fucking haters. A lot of dumb fuck haters who can't think for themselves, who don't have any fucking real discernible worldview, that just position themselves as being against whatever the fuck I'm for. Ironically enough, many of them find themselves wrong, on the wrong side of every argument.
Easy to fire 30 years ago. Iran fired lots of missiles against Iraq in the Iran-Iraq war of 1980 to 1988. But they were very inaccurate weapons. They were terror weapons. They were fired against cities. What we're seeing today is that they can strike things more precisely. They've taken out, destroyed American radars in Qatar, in Jordan. They have been able to hit American diplomats and embassies and consulates. And that's been quite effective. And so that asymmetric power to strike back, I think, has been helped by modern technology and the availability of quite good missiles to be operated by powers and countries that are not necessarily the biggest or richest militaries in the world.
Just finally, Shashank, can Iran actually win this, or at least not lose?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what is victory here? I think nobody can define that very clearly. But from Iran's perspective, they may come out of this very badly bruised. But if they come out of it with their regime intact, the Islamic Republic that took power in that 1979 revolution, with a supreme leader, with the Revolutionary Guards, and able to keep their population in control and saying, if you come out back on the streets like you did this year, we will massacre you again. If that is where this ends up, and they can build more missiles and they can rebuild their nuclear program, that will count as a success for the Iranians. And I think whatever they claim, it will look like a defeat for the Americans and the Israelis.
Thanks for breaking that down for us, Shashank. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's the breakdown. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
They got a breakdown now? That's crazy.
I think in the United States, it was seen as something of an opportunity. And, I have a couple of rules when it comes to foreign policy. One is really understand the country before you go to war with it. And I think the United States violated or ignored that rule 20-odd years ago when we went to war with Iraq. And I think we once again ignored that rule in the case of Iran. You can win a war militarily, yet not win it strategically and politically. It reminds me of some other wars of choice the United States has fought over the years, like Vietnam and so forth. And if you look...
He's saying that now, but this was him. Haas now wants to talk to Iran. In January, he called for the bombing of Iran and demanded that it would dismantle its nuclear program and abandon its regional policies in any negotiation. The bloc keeps coming up with poor policy proposals because it's never held to account. In Iran, we are unable to defend protesters, but we can attack regime military sites, provide internet to help opposition, publicly articulate a package of eco-benefits that Iran would get if it gave up its nuclear program and proxies that embrace political reform. Now, oh shit, Iran got hands. The costs of epic fury far outweigh the benefits. It will get worse as the war drags on. We cannot expect regime change or more war to serve our interests. We need to get serious about negotiating with Iran. And you still got motherfuckers in this chat every now and then coming in to be like, no, it's actually a big success. They're all falling. They're all escaping the sinking ship like a bunch of rats.
Well, I think it's important for your viewers, Jesse, and the American people to know that there's never in history been a more total asymmetric, one-sided annihilation of the enemy than you are witnessing that is unfolding right now in Iran. Iran has long been feared by all the nations of the Middle East. It's long been believed to be one of the great military powers of the region, and yet the United States, under President Trump's leadership, has annihilated their Navy, has annihilated their missile capabilities, has dealt devastating strikes to the IRGC and their command structure, has taken out, in collaboration and coordination with Israel, their nation's sinister leadership and command structure. It has been a complete wipeout of their capacity to unleash violence on the world. And we are in the process right now of degrading their entire military industrial base so that they cannot resume creating and building these weapons that not only could reach Europe, that not only can reach our military bases, but that someday could reach the mainland United States. So this has been, by every definition, an unprecedented military success against a regime that since 1979...
Yeah, we were going to be out of Iraq in like 3 weeks.
...has exported nothing but bloodshed and violence and claimed countless American lives.
It's so funny that this has been the same propaganda with Korea, same propaganda with Vietnam, same propaganda with Afghanistan, same propaganda with Iraq. And that has been defeat after defeat after defeat after defeat after countless lives were stolen for no reason whatsoever other than American imperialism. Okay? And I guess after the 25 years of the failure of the global war on terror, Americans have even less appetite for this kind of bullshit. And they are, on the one hand, begging for an uprising that simply is not happening. Okay? And on the other hand, trying to talk about how successful their military goals have been, even though America keeps losing assets, $60 million at a time.
The days to come. Well, you asked earlier as well about the future of the regime, because I didn't want to leave that question hanging. The president's been clear on this point too, Jesse. The people of Iran have an opportunity, if they choose to take it, their last best chance to claim control of the future. But whatever choice they make, President Trump has been abundantly straightforward in saying the United States will pursue and achieve its military objective.
All right. Makes sense to me, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, come on. Why don't you do an uprising? Come on, Gulf states. Why don't you join the war? It's so funny. We're so successful. We're so successful in our military ambitions that we're just like begging the people of Iran to rise up against the people protecting them right now, or at least striking back at the people bombing them. We're begging the Gulf states, after they got fucking pummeled, to rise up against Iran. Incredible stuff.
You see it.
Of course, Ben Shapiro also loves this shit. All of the worst villains of American politics love this shit.
Enormous number of Iranians millions, tens of millions of Iranians who hate the regime. The problem is they don't have the guns, which is why you saw these gigantic protests beginning in December, and you saw 32,000 people shot in the streets. I know that we're supposed to forget about all that because opponents of the war, as we will get to, are very, very upset about a girls' school that got hit in the war. And then we're supposed to totally pretend that the Iranians don't slaughter innocent Iranians at the rate of tens of thousands the minute they pop their heads out of the ground. In any case, the Israelis have been pummeling IRGC stations in Iran's western regions, particularly the areas that border Azerbaijan and Iraq. Those happen to be areas that are largely comprised of Azeris and Kurds. Remember, Iran is actually less Persian than America is white. There are huge minority populations in Iran, and they largely live in the border areas with other countries.
Bro, at first I thought there was like photoshopped eyebrows, but it's kind of crazy that like his real eyebrows are getting larger and larger.
Kurds, for example.
Hey, Hasan, what's your take on Sudan right now? Iran, by pummeling the UAE and cutting off their supply route to the RSF, are unironically playing a role in the liberation of Sudan at this very moment, where the Sudanese military can now take over towns that were previously ethnically cleansed by the RSF, now that they can't get their backing from the UAE. Ironically enough, I am Arab is a good example too. She's literally white, but she's visibly Muslim. Frogan, where did you see this? This is from 20 minutes ago. You're responding to a chatter that referenced you 20 minutes ago. His eyebrows decided to take up more territory in his, in his face.
On the eastern side of the border with Iraq. So you have Iraqi Kurds on one side, Iranian Kurds on the other, and some interplay between the two. We could see serious incursions into Iran from both Azerbaijan and from Iraqi Kurdistan by Iranian Kurds. And if that happened, there would be a serious challenge to IRGC forces. Those forces are now isolated from Iran because of the fracturing of the IRGC leadership class. Basically, with the destruction of the top levels of the IRGC, the lines of command have now broken down, and you have specific IRGC areas governed by specific IRGC commanders. Many of these brigades are maybe 3,000 to 5,000 people. And so the entire structure could begin to collapse piece by piece. And if that happens, then more and more Iranians in the center of the country will understand that the moment has come for action. And this is being facilitated pretty actively by the Israeli government. Right now, we are reading astonishing reports of Israeli drones that are so specific. These are suicide drones. They are targeting specific IRGC checkpoints in Iran. So when we say checkpoints, we mean like areas on a street where IRGC soldiers are standing, waiting for people to emerge so they can shoot them. And Israel has been from 1,000 miles away directing suicide drones to take out specific IRGC soldiers at specific intersections, essentially killing.
I like that Ben's analysis has been reduced to that classic tweet. Just walk into Leningrad and seize it. Or whatever the fuck that is. Like, you know what I'm talking about? The Hearts of Iron 4 Nazi. Don't invade Russia in the winter. Take it. Don't siege Leningrad. Take it immediately. Like that. This is the same. Like what is this? What goes for serious analysis? Come on, Kurds, do something. What do they got? 5,000, 10,000 max militias. They got like 5,000 to 10,000 people max. Some of them are experienced in combat. Some of them aren't. What the fuck are they supposed to do? It's so stupid. Yeah, how Hitler could have won. Don't terror bomb Britain. Focus on RAF facilities. Demand Mussolini not be at our war with the Balkans. Don't siege Leningrad. Take it immediately. Zerg Stalingrad to cut off Soviet oil. Ally with the Slavs against the commies. Ignore Africa. That's what Ben Shapiro's analysis is reduced to at this point.
The suppression force is necessary to kill protesters en masse in the streets if there should be some sort of popular uprising. And finally, the United States could simply bomb until the bombing is done.
Why do you support the destruction of the GCC? What? Dog, I was literally in Qatar. What is this? You know what? Hold the GCC now to participate in the war, not the side with Israel. Where is the sovereignty argument that you gave to Ukraine in regards to Russia? What? Do you think it's normal for Iran to have militia in Iraq? China benefit from Israel as much as Russia? What the fuck are you talking about? Is it because you lean in libtards' ignorance? Nah, America should share the pain. So now targeting neighbors is justified? Targeting Azadi pipeline is justified? Okay, I want to know where this chatter is coming from. Is this a Dubai chatter? because there's hella fucking Gulf nationals in my community, and I don't hear this from them. Nah. Where are you tuning in from, chatter? Maybe Syrian? I don't know. Bro, you think Iran just started randomly? Oh, he's Kuwaiti. Okay, maybe. You think Iran just started randomly one day lobbing missiles in the fucking Gulf states? What are you, stupid? The fuck are you talking about? These countries have American military bases. They have radar systems that are defending not only America's interests, but also Israel in the region. Iran got bombed by America and Israel and then retaliated. Does Iran not have a right to defend itself? What are we fucking doing here? And no, I don't think the fucking Gulf states have the standing militaries to begin with to go and fight America and Israel's battles, nor do they see the necessity to do so. Because at least from the people that I talk to that live in the Gulf and the people that I talk to that talk to higher ranking individuals in the Gulf, they're angry at Iran, sure, for fucking up the bag for them. But you know who they're more angry at? America. Do you want to know why? Because who the fuck would have thought trillions of dollars of investment into Western capitals and billions of dollars of weapons transfers, weapons purchases would have all amounted to these countries turning into fucking missile sponges at a moment's notice because Israel doesn't give a fuck about the Gulf and actually likes a weakened Gulf and wants to completely destabilize and destroy Iran. There is a reason why, with the exception of the Emiratis, most of the other Gulf nation states were actively begging, including Saudi Arabia, who was no fan of Iran, was openly begging America not to do this. Okay? Because they also want a defanged Iran, but they don't want a destabilized Iran. Because at the end of the day, a completely destabilized Iran is going to rip apart the entire region in ways that are so much worse than what has happened thus far. A completely destabilized Iran will have an immigration crisis in the region. A completely destabilized Iran with weapons can now have no interest in limiting their targets to just military bases or American assets that are like hiding in a hotel or whatever. Okay? A completely destabilized Iran also has no capacity to offer pushback to the only regional power that is a real threat to every Gulf state. Much larger threat than Iran itself. That country is Israel. So you're out of step. You're out of step with barely hitting Israel. What the fuck are you talking about? They literally pummel Israel every night. You should be upset at the Americans for not putting up enough defenses on their own fucking facilities in the Gulf. Not even like, you know, financial sector areas or shit like that. I'm talking about like they didn't even have enough anti-missile defense facilities, their own American bases. That's crazy. The only reason why you're not seeing more death and destruction come out of Israel is because every single military equipment in the region is primarily focused on defending Tel Aviv. That's it. What is this? U.S. citizenship is a privilege, not a right?
Should not be here. Being a U.S. citizen is a privilege. It is not a right. And if you are not going to honor that right and treat people with respect, and you are going to hurt American citizens, you must be removed from our country immediately.
You know, Paul, let me go to you first to comment on old.
The
fuck? This tangent gets you a ban from the U.S.? Yeah. If only. Anyway, like the calculation for Iran is clear. Destroy the Gulf economies to put pressure on the U.S. That's really interesting that you say that. So why didn't they do this last year? Why didn't they do this the year prior? Why didn't they do this 3 years ago? Why didn't they do this 4 years ago? You think Iran didn't have the same military equipment back then? They did. As a matter of fact, they had a much more successful axis of resistance that they could have leaned into at that time as well. Why didn't they do this after October 7? If Iran wanted to blow up the Gulf, they clearly had the capability to do so. That much is fucking clear, especially in the last 12 days. We've found out that that is the reality, right? So why didn't they do it randomly? What events triggered this retaliation against American assets and American military bases in the region? What country would not attack launching pads, the launching pads of their fucking foreign occupiers and their foreign enemies? What are you, fucking stupid? What the hell are you talking about? The goal from the Iranian calculation is very clear. They want America to retreat from the region. They want to defang Israel. Sorry, dude, this argument is pretty weak. Iran and the Sunni Arabs have been in conflict for way longer than Israel was even in the picture. Really? Oh, really? That's really interesting. So this is a Sunni Shiite sectarian conflict. So answer my question then. Why did they not do this 10 years ago? Why did they not do this after October 7? This is pure cope. Iran is a sovereign regional actor. They have regional stability ambitions, just like any other country does. There's only one country in the region that does not want stability. That country is Israel. It's that simple. Yeah, Iran is so invested in sectarian conflict that they are the primary funder of the only Sunni group that is openly fighting against Israel. Can you explain why they don't want stability? Because they have America. They literally can do whatever the fuck they want. Who's going to oppose them was the calculation until these past 12 days. They weren't being bombed to shit. This is the only leverage they have to stop the bombing. Okay, so you do understand it. Got it. Okay, glad that you understand exactly what's going on here. Israel does not care about stability because Israel, in that instability, can just take over more and more territory and no one can fight back against it. Israel does not want a powerful Gulf alliance. It's really interesting because the ones that are getting fucked over the hardest here are the Emiratis. Okay? And what's really interesting about that calculation is they must have realized at some point that Israel doesn't even care about them either, because they were the ones who were actively aligning with Israel. They were the ones who were aggressively petitioning the rest of the Gulf states to act in unison with Israel. They were the ones who were the dogs of Israel. And look how Israel has treated them. It's not like they got special privileges as a consequence of this. It's not like they got any sort of additional defense as a consequence of this. The ones that are getting fucked over in this process, I would say, are the Qataris. Because outside of Oman, in the region, the one other country that has to have decent relations with Iran is Qatar. They share a gas field, okay? So that waterway, across the waterway, you have Qatar on the one side, you have Iran on the other side. They share the same fucking gas field. They have literally they have a partnership in extracting natural gas. The GCC wanted peace with Iran. Direct war is not good for their economy. GCC Arabs do not want war with Iran. GCC Arab civilians are not blood like the idea of war with Iran. Yeah, we're not even talking about the citizens, by the way. The citizens are somewhat irrelevant in this calculation because we're talking about monarchies in the Gulf, right? I'm talking specifically about the people who actually are making these decisions, the people who actually control these countries, the monarchs themselves. That's their calculation. They also don't want to wage war with Iran. In other words, Gulf states aligned with Israel and U.S. are openly acknowledging that given Israel's fanatical expansionism and open threats versus U.S. allies like Turkey, they will someday be on the chopping block. Omani foreign minister actually suggests this is widely acknowledged privately. Left, Omani foreign minister's statement today suggesting that after Iran, Israel, Washington will turn on the other Gulf states. Right, ex-Qatari MP's statement from March 1st saying Israel, Washington seek to weaken Gulf states, which must band together to resist future aggression. There is one option, though, for the Gulf states, and that is China. There's one option for the Gulf states. It's China and Turkey, and that's what I suspect they will lean into. I mean, Qatar already has, Turkish military, Turkish troops, and a broad partnership with Turkey anyway. The actual goal of the war is to weaken Iran, reshape the region, and push forward the normalization file with a broader context that also involves attempts to prevent the establishment of the Palestinian state. Why not Russia? I've thought about that. I think they would rather, I suspect they would, I don't think they trust Russia as much either. Vladimir Putin is a lot closer to Israel than you think he is. Okay? Tactically, yes, he will align with Iran. He will send Iran weapons. But Vladimir Putin is also somewhat close to Israel himself. China, on the other hand, has trade negotiations with Israel, but China doesn't give a fuck about anything. China only gives a fuck about trade. They just want the fucking commerce to flow. They want to keep moving units. They will die if they don't move units. Yeah. Anyway, doubt American influence will dissipate after this war in the Gulf. I don't think we know what things are going to look like and how this war is going to end, if that makes sense. We have no idea what it's going to look like when all is said and done, when the dust is settled. I do know, however, that the longer this goes on, the worse things will be for America. Well, why Bernie said this about Saudi, Hasan? Israel and Saudi Arabia pushed the U.S. to attack Iran. He doesn't fuck with Saudi Arabia. I don't either, but he's wrong about this. There was reporting that Saudi Arabia was also privately urging America to strike Iran. I don't believe that reporting at all. And I am not a fan of Saudi Arabia. Y'all know I have criticized Saudi Arabia quite a bit. I do not believe it. I think the only Gulf state that was invested in this, who might be dumb enough to not think of the consequences, would be the UAE, not Saudi Arabia. It was Israel and maybe the UAE, but probably not even the United Arab Emirates. Netanyahu killed 72 people in Gaza, mostly women and children. Saudi Arabia is a brutal dictatorship that allows no opposition. These are the leaders who want to bring freedom to Iran. Does anyone really believe that? I wonder why he says Netanyahu killed 72,000 people in Gaza, but then says Saudi Arabia is a brutal dictatorship. Because, and he doesn't say like MBS is brutal and allows no opposition. Kind of feels like he has a difference there. There's like a little bit of difference there, I've noticed. Have you noticed that? I have noticed that. What do you think it would really take for the GC states to get up and kick out the U.S. Gulf bases? It's already kind of happening because if the bases are reduced to fucking rubble, then, what are you going to do? Khalid bin Salman, in a call with Catherine Vautrin, we condemned the Iranian aggression against the kingdom. We also discussed regional developments and repercussions that the ongoing escalation posed to security and stability in the region. Khalid bin Salman says, actually, you are the aggressor. We're not in the 1900s anymore. There are things you cannot hide, especially your hypocrisy. Iranian missile impact somewhere in Haifa region. Looks like Haifa's refinery. Is this new? I don't know. Let's put it this way. A ton of mainstream news likes to say we're in uncharted waters for very charted waters. We are right now, in fact, in uncharted waters. I agree. Yeah. That's why I said, at the beginning of this conflict, that we are now officially in the weeks where decades happen. And decades, as a matter of fact, have been happening. And they've been unfolding every single fucking day.